Hi everyone, Seth Screamo here again with the Best of Wooster Podcast, and today we are at Main Street Wooster with Shannon Waller. Shannon, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Seth.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the questions here. Can you tell us your story and how you ended up leading Main Street Wooster?
It was kind of a ricochet of events. I grew up in Doylestown, Ohio, and growing up there, I wanted to get as far away from it as possible when I graduated high school. So I went to college at UC Santa Barbara. Really loved being in California at the time. Stayed on to go to law school in San Francisco and practiced law for about 3 years, mostly commercial law, business law, that kind of thing. I learned in that time that can be a challenging field. Clients don't always tell you the truth. And I was looking around for something different, and my parents had started a wholesale school spirit supply business in the meantime. And they invited me to come back to Ohio, work with them, help grow that enterprise. And so I did. I was with them for 17 years. They actually retired not too long after I came home. I'm still resentful of that. I came home to spend time with them, and they moved to Florida soon after. But I did enjoy the work. But when they decided they wanted to sell the business, they thought they could sell it to me. But I, at that point, decided I wanted to do something different. I wanted something that was more meaningful to me. So I looked around, and animal welfare was near and dear to my heart. I took over the executive director position at the Medina County SPCA, and from there I became chief operations officer for the Summit County Humane Society, and those were very rewarding jobs. I loved what I did there. That's a pressure cooker of a kind of nonprofit enterprise, though, and looking around for something that was a bit more balanced in my life, the opportunity in Worcester came up, and it seemed perfect because I had the business background, I had the law background, I had the nonprofit background, and Main Street Wooster really seemed to be able to stretch all of those skills that I had, and I was very fortunate that they thought I was a good fit as well.
You know, I have some family members that are lawyers, so I get it. So walk me through, what was it like transitioning from law and wholesale to the nonprofit world?
It was really exciting. It was nice to be able to throw all of my energy into an enterprise that needed everything I could give it. And I had a lot of fun looking at the systems that they had in place, figuring out where I could bring my skills to the table and moving them forward in the direction that they wanted to go. So it was always just an adrenaline rush, really, to get into this kind of nonprofit world and really feel like I was making the world a better place in the meantime.
So what does a day in a life look like for you right now?
It usually has a wide variety of things. I definitely need to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening downtown. So it certainly involves communicating with retailers and restaurants downtown, kind of following social media, seeing what's going on with them, if there's anything that I need to engage with. There's a lot of fundraising involved. This is a nonprofit organization, so I do a lot of grant writing, grant applications, grant reports. Those take a lot of engagement with the city, figuring out where their initiatives are going and making sure that folks that are impacted by those have the information that they need. And a lot of event planning. Present more than 80 events each year, and my wonderful team and I share that load, but it takes engagement from all of us to make it happen. So it's different every day, but there's enough of a rhythm over the course of the year that I can feel like I understand what's happening next, and I can prepare for it and make sure that we have all the resources that we need to execute.
It's awesome. It's good to have a good team, right? So for those who are unfamiliar, how would you describe the mission of Main Street Wooster?
In a nutshell, our job is to keep downtown Worcester thriving. And we're part of almost a franchise of Main Street organizations that has a lot of resources that we can rely on to make that happen. The template that we're given by Main Street America includes doing the kind of free events that we put on each year, doing the beautification that's part of the Arts District work that we're doing, creating the relationships with other strong organizations and community stakeholders to implement those ideas, and economic development to try to help the existing businesses and bring in new businesses to fill vacancies.
Now, since taking over Main Street Wooster, you probably have seen a lot of good transformations and success stories. Can you share one or two of those?
Absolutely. One of the ones that I'm most excited about, and we partnered with the city and with the Chamber of Commerce to do this, was to bring in the designated outdoor refreshment area. And that was something that allows an exception to the open container laws. We did that when COVID hit, and the restaurants were really trying to figure out if they could survive when they weren't allowed to have patrons come in and dine indoors. And this was an economic development tool that allowed people to still come downtown, shop, dine, enjoy safely, and have this Dora drink available to make it more enjoyable. And in conjunction with that, and as part of the response that we did to COVID, we extended the free public concerts that we presented. When I took over Main Street Wooster, they had Sounds of Downtown that were once or twice a week and were sort of like a roving minstrel type of situation. When COVID hit and we were trying to get people to really have a strong reason to come downtown and stay downtown, we had music 5 days a week, 2 days on the lunch hour and then 3 days in the evenings. And we got some grant funding to do that, and we were able to keep some more foot traffic downtown, and we were able to publicize the Dora drink opportunity there. And that's evolved so that we're now down to about 3 nights a week all through the summer for the Main Street music, but it's still a wonderful reason to come downtown and enjoy what we have to offer. And it's one of the most robust free music concerts in the state, if not in the region.
Now, for a town like Worcester, why is it so important to keep a downtown thriving?
The downtown really has a synergistic relationship with all the businesses and organizations that are in the community. For example, the College of Wooster works with us pretty closely when they have people coming in town to consider sending their kids to the College of Wooster. They want the downtown to be impressive to the parents. So the parents can see coming to visit their kid in college, there'll be something fun to do. The kid will have some opportunities to enjoy the culture that we do offer. Similarly, if Scheffler is trying to recruit new executives to come and work in their downtown Worcester office, this is something that those people are going to look at. Want to raise a family here? Will they have a good quality of life once they move to take that opportunity? So that part of what we do is a little more behind the scenes, but it makes it possible for all the other industries that are in the community to keep thriving with the human capital that they can bring because of what we offer.
Now, one of the favorite things that my family experiences with Downtown Wooster is the Window Wonderland, which always seems to be a huge hit. Can you walk us through what makes that night so special?
Absolutely, but I do have to correct, it's Window Wonderland. Yes, and that's because many of the downtown businesses make some extraordinary displays in their windows. Many of them cover them up until they are revealed during Window Wonderland. This event has become so spectacular. We have sometimes 10,000 people come in to enjoy the downtown, but it took literally decades of evolution to get that kind of momentum, to get that kind of community involvement. The most signature part of this event is Santa coming down off the Briggs and Starr building in the hook and ladder truck that the city of Worcester provides from their fire department. So that's always a magical moment. But each organization who participates bring their own special something to the event for the evening. For example, Main Street Bank has sponsored the horse and carriage rides that are free to the attendees. Commercial and Savings Bank sponsors the live reindeer display that are downtown, and all the downtown businesses have some kind of activity, giveaway, something special. They make ornaments, they do cookies, they have, gingerbread men and women. It's just such a wonderful kaleidoscope of different entertainments and offerings. It's just a warm, family-friendly thing to do, and it's become a tradition for so many families that kids want to come and continue to experience it with their own children when they grow up. And because it started, I want to say close to 30 years ago now, you have generations of people who are enjoying that magical evening.
Yeah, I know for my kids, they really like, obviously, Santa, but the ice sculpting, that's always fun. And the newer one, it's like there's like an accordion-esque type of truck where it just plays like almost like circus music. So yeah, I mean, we could spend like probably an hour just watching that. So, public art has become a pretty big focus. Can you share a recent project and how it came to life?
Yes, we've had the Arts District as a concept for quite some time. And when I say we, I'm referring to the city of Wooster, who has done a lot of community surveys to see what the community wants to see. And the Arts District has developed out of those conversations. The Wayne Center for the Arts has also worked with us on past projects. So, for example, when I first started in 2019, a project that we implemented very early on were the art tiles that are installed in the southeast and southwest quad of Public Square. We have over 60 pieces of local art that are there for the community to enjoy. But as that develops, we did one last year that I'm proud of because we had already had these conversations. We knew who our partners would be. And when the construction was scheduled for West Liberty Street, that was going to take out the sidewalk for a line of businesses that were quite understandably distressed with the impact this would have on their foot traffic. So my team and I went to the backside of that strip, and that's the alley next to Local Roots and just outside the back door of Spoon Restaurant. And we had our door drinks with us, and that's very important to the conversation because once you've had that sort of thought process, Carrie Manley, my project manager, Guinevere Steenson, my program manager, and I just looked around and said, what would bring people here to make sure that they get out of their cars, look around, shop, dine, and get to these businesses when there is so much construction in the way? And we just started thinking of art. Public art would make that happen. A mural that people would want to have for a selfie station, overhead decor, kind of like Umbrella Alley, which has become so famous. Even art on the asphalt below your feet, we thought would be pretty quick to implement because we needed to do it fast. We needed to do it before the negative impact on foot traffic from the construction really had a negative impact on the business. And we got together with the Wayne Center for the Arts and the city of Worcester, and they were just as gung-ho as we were. We landed on butterflies because that was an agricultural connection to Wayne County, and we couldn't think of anybody who didn't enjoy butterflies on some level. So the city was incredibly supportive of this, and they were able to install new overhead lighting, install the butterfly windsocks that we procured. They gave us permission to put the art on the asphalt that we had envisioned, and before that they redid the asphalt so it would last longer. We got permission from the owners of the Local Roots building, which happened to be the county commissioners. We got permission from the owner of the Spoon building to put a mural on their wall, and we were able to implement this in a matter of several weeks. We had something there that people could come and visit, and it was such a delight to see the lines of kids for the next homecoming come to get their picture taken with the butterfly wing mural that we installed there, and the way that people came together to support the project. We did an ask to the community for funding for all these art installation pieces and parts, and Wooster Brush donated paintbrushes to go ahead and have the Wayne Center for the Arts kids paint the butterflies on the asphalt. So the community really came together quickly to do a hands-on public art installation that was designed to support the businesses adjacent. And I'm so proud of how it all came together, and all of the businesses that were impacted by that construction were able to get through.
It's always great when a plan comes together, right? So you touched about this earlier on this episode, but can you tell us more about this Main Street music series? What's the community response been so far?
The Main Street Music Series has gotten a wonderful level of support from the downtown businesses and from some grant foundations to keep it going. And the expansion of it to bring in more kinds of artists, wider variety of artists, has been one of the things that I'm most proud of. And it takes a lot of curating. That's one of the responsibilities of my program manager, Guinevere, and she spends a lot of time curating that music, making sure we have something for everybody, making sure it's the quality that we're looking for. And we've been delighted by the increase in the attendance. So as the years have gone by, more and more people make it a part of their regular summer entertainment. And I was delighted. One time I overheard a group of friends who were talking, and one of the gentlemen said to his friends, well, since they started putting music downtown every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that's all we do. And I wanted to run up and hug him, but I managed to restrain myself. But that was just a validating and fulfilling moment, because that's exactly what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, entertainment's huge. If you give people a reason to be somewhere, they're definitely going to stick around. So speaking of people, who are some of the behind-the-scenes people or organizations that help make your work possible?
Well, I have mentioned them already because it's hard to talk about our work without doing so. But Carrie Manley, my project manager, organizes all of the annual events that we do. So Kids Day is all because of her. Window Wonderland is all because of her. The concert and cruise-ins that we have, those kinds of annual events are what she does, as well as the administrative part of what keeps us running. Guinevere Steenson, the program manager, oversees the farmers market, Main Street music, a lot of the downtown business spotlights that we showcase on our social media. She also does a lot with the Arts District work that we're doing. So much of the Butterfly Alley implementation was overseen by Guinevere. The city is the most important partner we have, though. We actually have two of the city administration on our board of trustees. Mayor Bob Reynolds is one of our trustees, and City Manager Joel Montgomery is also on our board of trustees. We have so many of those folks on speed dial, so if there is a power outage when we're trying to do our Main Street music show, we contact the head of public property maintenance to get that taken care of. So it really is a constant interaction to implement all the things that we do. And our board of trustees is really crucial to the amount of work that we do. We have 27 trustees right now, from the head of the Chamber of Commerce to the head of the Wayne Economic Development Council, the head of the Wayne Center for the Arts, the head of the library, the head of the school superintendent. And I know I'm missing somebody because I know we have 8, but you get the idea. We have a lot of the community stakeholders around the table each month to help us guide the work that we do for our mission to keep downtown Wooster thriving, not to mention the representatives of the business and building owner community.
So let's switch questions here to talk about some leadership. What was one of the hardest lessons you learned in this role?
So the Main Street paradigm is different from a lot of other nonprofits. Our constituents are the business and building owners downtown, the city itself, the people who live here, the people who visit here. So we're answering to a lot of different people if we're doing our jobs well. And one of the hardest things to navigate when I became the executive director of Main Street Wooster was understanding that while I might have a lot of influence over the community in the downtown, I have almost zero authority over any of these people. So if I want to make something happen, I have to build the coalition, convince people that this is a good idea, get all the information needed to move it forward. I can't make anybody do anything, including give me money. So I have to use influence instead to get anything accomplished.
So it definitely seems like your head is on a swivel. As a leader, how do you stay inspired and avoid burnout with so much happening all the time?
I'm pretty fortunate in that the role of the Main Street Wooster is just a lot of fun. We get to do exciting things. We get to throw events that people want to come to downtown. We get to install public art. We get to work with the Veteran Banner program that the city allowed us to do. All of this stuff is just fun. So the risk of burnout from my perspective is pretty low because we're just in a very wonderful industry.
What's the biggest myth people have about running a Main Street organization?
I think the biggest myth is the amount of work that goes into a particular endeavor. It might seem simple to implement a Veteran Banner program, for example. Millersburg has one. North Royalton has one. You see them in many other communities. So it seems like it would be pretty easy to replicate. And it simply wasn't the case. We looked through a lot of legal considerations before we went forward. Wooster is very cognizant of doing things right, I think. So because another community went ahead and put photos of people up and said, there's thank you for your service in the United States Army, we actually dug under the surface of that to see, well, the Department of Defense owns those trademarks. Are we allowed to do that? And the immediate answer that we saw was, not really. You're supposed to have permission from the United States government for use of those marks. And we went back and forth a lot with the City of Worcester's attorney's office. I did my own research because I had that law background. And eventually we figured out that if we displayed the banners around a federally recognized holiday for veterans, for example, Veterans Day, then they had an exception to getting permission for each and every time we used a Department of Defense trademark. That took a while. That took a lot of back and forth. It took a lot of research, a lot of consideration, figuring out exactly who qualified. Was it going to be active service members? Was it only going to be veterans? A lot of those questions that you don't really think about until you're trying to say, okay, what are the rules here? What do we want this program to look at? Are we going to call it hometown heroes? And if so, what about the first responder heroes? They might not be armed services, but they're heroes. Why shouldn't they be included? Like, well, let's call it the Veterans Banner Program too, because then you're looking at, is it only full-time people or is it part-time first responders? All of those questions were things that we discussed at length, and I don't want to take up the rest of your podcast talking about it, but at the end of the day, when those veteran banners go up, I don't think anybody who didn't live through the process realized just how much went into making that happen.
Oh yeah, when you try to cater to everyone, sometimes you lose sight on what's important, right? So when you filled out the questionnaire, you said that Worcester is your forever home. What makes it so special?
I was fortunate before coming to Worcester, I had worked in nonprofits in 2 other nearby communities. Of course, I grew up in Wayne County, so I had that background. But I worked in nonprofits in Medina, and I worked in nonprofits in Summit County. And the energy is so different. Those are wonderful communities, and they have their strengths. But the positive energy in Worcester is like nothing I've ever experienced. There are so many people who work so hard to make our community better, to help whatever situation needs to be improved, and to really put their skin in the game, their funds in the game. And everybody that I've interacted with, they put their money where their mouth is. And another thing that I've really appreciated being here is I worked with a lot of different people, 27 trustees alone. I have 27 bosses, working with all the people in the city, all the networking that is necessary for the job. I really enjoy all the people that I work with. Of course, I have particular favorites, but there isn't anybody that I dread seeing or working with. There's just something special about this place. And so for those reasons, that's why I've decided, okay, I've bounced around enough different communities that I know I've struck gold, so I'm staying.
No, definitely. When you find that right spot where you know that you're meant to be, tend to stay there. So let's say we could snap our fingers and launch one dream project downtown. What would it be?
That would be, as a part of the Arts District, creating a mixed-use compound. I envision something that has short-term housing available on the upper floors that are sort of loft type of apartments, artistic storefronts on the lower levels, green space in the middle, and what I see populating that are writers' retreats, maybe getting funding for those kind of workshops to have people visit from all over the country, spend 3 months in downtown Wooster to work on their craft, engage with the community at large as they're doing that, and certainly reserve as much time as needed for all the people who come in for the Ohio Light Opera every year, so that they'll always have a wonderful space to come do the work that they do for the community and for the arts, and have that be sort of the epicenter of the Arts District that we're trying to develop. This is something that I've painted castles in the air sitting down with Laura Neal, the head of the Ohio Light Opera. They're currently a College of Wooster campus focused area, but I really think they belong downtown.
For sure. And folks, if you've never experienced the Ohio Light Opera, you definitely need to go. So what advice would you give someone looking to start working in the community or non-profit development?
I think the best advice I could give somebody who wanted to start working in the nonprofit is to be ready to get your hands into everything. Most nonprofits have limited resources. They have to really decide what is most important and be able to do it themselves if that's the only way to get the job done. But it is so rewarding that it will stretch your skills. It will make you grow as a professional, and as a person. If someone has an opportunity to work in nonprofit, it's extraordinarily worthwhile. And if they can't work in it for whatever reason, certainly volunteering is another way to get that exceptional experience.
Now, I know there's a lot of great places to eat downtown in Worcester. Which one's your favorite?
Normally, I plead the fifth on that because the nature of my role is that I want to spread the love evenly. But since my past chair of my board of trustees is Glenn Grumbling, my favorite is Broken Rocks.
I do like their pizza there. So what is a hidden gem in downtown Worcester that most people tend to miss?
One of the hidden gems that I think still surprises many people is a studio called Art Fine Tile. It's next to City News and near the new milk house that's going in. It's run by an artist named Bridget O'Connor, who has an amazing space in there with the most glorious, luxurious masonry and tiles that can be works of art in themselves, or they can enhance any kind of home. And when we have events that allow people to come into that space, they're dazzled, absolutely dazzled.
All right, so last question here. What is a movie you think that most people need to watch?
Well, since the most recent that I've seen is Sinners, and that's top of mind, I will have to say Sinners. That has so much culturally within the storyline, and the music is spectacular.
Awesome. Well, Shannon, is there anything upcoming this summer that people should know about?
We're really excited to be having some neighborhood conversations about public art. We have a small grant that allows us to have a consultant, Sustainable Economies Consulting, help us engage with the neighborhood that is within the Arts District footprint that we're contemplating. So we have some listening sessions coming up in the next several weeks to allow those folks to tell us what they want to see in public art, since the installations are going to be very close to where they live. We did Butterfly Alley because we like butterflies, but now we want to ask people what they like.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the Best of Wooster podcast. Anyone who's listening, if you need any other contact information, you're welcome to reach out to myself, Seth Scrimo, at 330-221-1547. Have a great day. Bye.